Good morning and welcome to episode 1. What is the internet really? This is a little too echoey sounding, so let me try to fix that somehow. Well, there we go. Nope, that's not it. I guess we'll just have to deal with this. So, episode 1, what is the internet really? So, some of the things we'll cover in this session would be, the differences between the internet, Wi Fi, websites, apps, and browsers. What's the difference between Safari, Chrome, Edge, and Firefox? Why the same website can look different on a phone versus a computer, and what does it mean to be online? So let's start and let's talk about just the concept of the internet. Think of the internet as a giant library and a phone book, a shopping mall, a post office, a newspaper, television, and a community bulletin board all connected together. Um, Basically, it's just the internet is information at your fingertips. Instead of having to drive someplace or call someone or look through a paper book, you can use your phone, a tablet, or a computer to visit these places online. When we talk about a website, that is like the location you can visit on the internet. If you've heard people talk about or ask you to go to www dot whatever it is, for example, that is going to be the address on the computer that you type in that will pull that website up onto your screen so that you can look at products, place an order, find a phone number, ask for help, things like that. So that is what the website is. The next term is an important one because oftentimes when my mom asks for help, she will ask me, what's this thing doing? And my first question to her is, where are you? For me to provide help, she needs to be able to tell me whether she is in a browser. If she's on a browser, is she in a website? Is she on an app like Facebook or Instagram or YouTube? So some of these terms are very important, especially if you're asking for help. So what is a browser? A browser is a piece of software or an app that you use to get to the internet. Without the browser, you wouldn't be able to bring any information up on your screen. The browser knows that when you type in www dot wherever you're going, it knows how to go to that address on the internet, pull the information up, and put it onto your screen in a way that you can understand it. It puts the pictures up, it puts the text on there, etc. When you push a button on your screen or click your mouse, it's the browser that will interpret that information and get it back to the website. When you hear apps like Safari is an app on mostly Apple computers, Mac computers. It's a browser. Chrome is another browser. Edge is a browser. All of these are browsers that is like the car that would take you to those websites. So try to remember that term browser. What is a search engine? Google is a search engine. If you need to search for something, maybe you're trying to find out how to do a skill. Maybe you want to learn more about art and you're looking for instructions. One way that you might find that information is go onto a browser and then find a search engine like Google. And once you're in Google, you type what it is you're looking for. Find me information about how to be an artist, or how to paint, or how to sculpt. Type that into the search engine, type it into Google, hit enter, and a series of information is going to come back to you on your screen. One thing to keep in mind is Google is now built into a lot of browsers so that you don't necessarily have to go to www.google.com to get to that search engine. Instead, you'll go directly to the address bar and just type in what it is you're looking for. And as soon as you hit enter, it's really Google that will be going to get that information for you. So what we're looking at now is I am in a browser, and this browser happens to be Chrome. And remember how I said earlier that sometimes Google is built into a browser? This is an example of that. So instead of going to, and I'll show you, if I go to www.google.com and hit enter, it'll take me directly to Google's website. But instead of doing that, I'll show you the alternative if it's one that has Google built in. Now I'm not at the Google website. I went someplace else just for the sake of this example. So here, and up at the top here, this thing I'm pointing to, this is the address bar. This is where you would type in one of those www addresses. But if you have Google built in, this is where you can type a search and get back some results. So let's say we want to learn about deer. What is it about deer we want to know? Are there white deer? I'm going to type that right in the search bar and hit enter. And what came back from Google is first the AI overview, which kind of consolidates information and makes it easier for you to get an answer. Yes, white deer do exist, but they are incredibly rare, etc., etc. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see more answers, and then websites that might be associated with your search. White deer, and this is Cool Green Science website. Here's some videos that are referencing the white deer. So it brings you all sorts of different kinds of information, right? Videos, websites, the AI stuff that kind of summarizes. So there's all sorts of information about white deer that comes back, and you get to be the one that decides which of this information are you looking to dive deeper into. Let's say we wanted to see what this New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection talks about. We're just going to click on this. And now we're going to the New Jersey website. Now we're in that website. Now there's a whole nother series of selections and places you can go on their website. Here's one of the white deer. So while we're on the topic of websites, there are a couple of things that I want to draw your attention to that will be very useful and common. You'll see these on other websites. This little blue button right here I'm pointing to, this tells you that there's a menu, and most likely it will contain other places that you can go. If you're looking for contact information, this might be something that you're going to click on in hopes of finding how to contact someone here. There'll be other things. So if we click on this, yes, a menu popped up, and there's contact information. So always look for this. If you're not able to find what you're looking for, click on one of these. If you see it, it should be a menu. And then once you click on contact, hopefully there's a way to reach them with either a phone number or an email address. There it is. There's the phone number. So that is something that will be good to retain. One other thing I want to mention, when you get someplace, and I think this is something that my mom has struggled with from time to time, how do you get back from where you ended up? There are arrow buttons in most browsers. There's a back arrow up here on the top left and a forward arrow. Notice the back arrow, the one I'm pointing to the left, is highlighted in black. That's telling me that it's active. If I click it, it'll do something. The one on the right arrow, is not highlighted. And I can tell it's dead. In other words, it's saying there's no place to go to the right because you've kind of reached the end. And let me show you the difference. If I click back, it's going to take me to where I just came from. Yeah, and this is where we were, where the menu was, and we clicked contact. Now, the button on the right is active because we can return to one screen further where we were a second ago. Yep, now we're there. If I click back, we go directly back. We can click it a second time to see where we came from before we got here. And now we're back to the main search that we had done looking for white deer. So these are very useful. The forward and back buttons. You can also think of this as a return to where I just came from when I click the one on the left. Very, very useful. One other thing I'd like to cover today is another term called Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi doesn't actually stand for anything. Some people think it stands for wireless fidelity, but that's not necessarily true. You have to think back about, 15 years ago when the internet was younger. In those days, if you remember, some of us had modems that connected through the phone lines in order to get to the internet. That was also referred to as dial-up. So in those days, in order to reach the internet, you had to be wired to the network through a modem to get to the internet, to get information to come back to your computer. Somewhere along the lines, some brilliant person decided that we shouldn't have to physically be connected. Our computers shouldn't have to be physically connected to a wire in order to get that signal. We want to do it kind of like radio worked. It should be able to come through radio waves to our computer. And as long as you're in the vicinity of where the signal was reachable, then you should be able to connect to the internet. Well, that is kind of how Wi-Fi was born. So now if you hear somebody refer to Wi-Fi, is there Wi-Fi? They want to know if they're within the range of a tower that where they can reach that signal. A lot of times today, certain businesses will have free Wi-Fi. Starbucks is a great example. If for some reason you can't reach the internet and you're close to a Starbucks, a lot of times you can pull your car up close to the Starbucks and then look on your phone, for instance, and look for Wi-Fi signals, and you'll find Starbucks. You can connect to that and access the internet. I've done it a number of times. So that is what they're talking about when you hear them talk about Wi-Fi. Um, One thing I didn't cover, um, online. What does it mean to be online? I have a feeling most of you already know this. Online really just means that you are at a computer or on your phone, at a place where you can access the internet or access Facebook, or be able to electronically communicate. Um, if you're talking about a bank, or um, some place that you have a service account that you can electronically access, sometimes if the bank asks you, are you online with us? Meaning, do you have an account? Can you log on to their service and look at your information, see your balances, etc.? Sometimes online means that. Um, so, really not a magic term. Um, as I've gone through some of these examples today, I was sitting at my Mac computer showing the screen on my Macintosh, showing you what the browser looked like on my Macintosh, Google, etc. Keep in mind that what I did here on my computer can also be done on your phone. It may look slightly different, but you can have browsers on your phone just as you can have browsers on your home computer. You'll see Safari on both. I have it on my iPhone, I have it on my home computer. Google, you can access on your home computer, you can access it on your phone. That's kind of one of the beautiful things about technology lately, is that you don't necessarily have to be on your computer at home to get at information or do things. I mean, you can go shopping from your car sitting in the McDonald's parking lot. You can go on to Amazon.com and shop. Um, that leads me to another kind of a safety practice. And I believe that the fewer places that you list your information online, the better. Certainly with like credit cards, social security numbers, your address, your phone number, you don't want that information getting out. Um, when it comes to shopping, I have an account with Amazon. They have my credit card information because I put it in one time. So, as much as I hate the idea of a huge corporate conglomerate like Amazon controlling all the shopping in the world, I feel more safe shopping on Amazon because when I need something, I can find it almost immediately. I can purchase it online, and the purchase is simple. I don't have to re enter my credit card information, my name, and my address. They have it. So I can go to my phone in a matter of less than a couple of minutes if I needed to order something common that I've ordered before, especially. And I'll know that it'll show up within a couple of days, and that I have not had to reshare my information online. And there's less chance of somebody, you know, capturing my credit card and doing something fraudulent with that information. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you have an Amazon account or an account with eBay or something, stick with that. Don't fall for these things that you see on Facebook and other platforms where they are showing you some kind of a deal and they want you to make this purchase. Anytime you have to type your credit card information in, danger, danger. Not all of them, but sometimes that's a way for you to get yourself in a lot of trouble and then have to deal with countless calls to your bank or your credit card company to, get rid of those charges somehow. But I think I'll leave it there today. Always, if you have any questions for me, feel free in the comments to ask. Um, if there's another way I can get information to you, or I'm still not coming through, I mean, I'd be happy to work with any of you. So I hope this is helpful. Please let me know if this is helpful. I know we've just scratched the surface today, and I think we have a little bit further to go on some of the more common things. Like when I talked about the back arrow, that's huge. I mean, I think for my mom, she really didn't understand how to go back. So oftentimes I would see her get frustrated, and she'd be on her phone and she would be swiping up um, when she got frustrated. And I think that was just her finding that she'd reached a place she didn't know where she was, so she was going to close everything and start all over again. Well, you don't always have to do that. If you made a mistake and you went someplace you didn't mean to go, just hit the back arrow. You go back to where you were right before that, and you can make a different selection. So we'll try to cover more of these common items, some of the things that you'll see every day that are common to websites, and hopefully you'll have a lot less pain and grief on your online experiences. Thank you for tuning in. Again, please let me know if this is helpful. All right, bye bye.